So in this video, I'm going to talk about the law of cosines, but specifically I want to look at side triangles, just to clear up kind of how you can approach those. So I have these two examples that we're going to go through today. So let's just jump right into it. So for my first triangle, I have sides a equals 3, b equals 5, and c equals 6. Okay, so the key with the side triangles is that you're going to want to think about this triangle side length restriction. And really what this means is that whatever the longest side is, that's where you want to start with your law of cosines. So you'll notice here, so with angle C, so side C is 6 feet. This is the longest side. So when I think about which one of my law of cosines formulas I might want to use, I want to choose the one that isolates the longest side. So this will be the format that I want to use. Okay, so let's just jot that down. And from here, now I can just really fill things in, right? So this is 6 squared. Let's see, what's my side A? My side A is 3 squared. Side B is 5. So let's see, then I'll just minus 2 times 3 times 5. So what I'm trying to solve for, right, is this cosine C. So now what I usually like to do is I like to just isolate everything for cosine C and then do my calculation. So I'm going to have negative 2 times 3 times 5 equals 6 squared minus 3 squared minus 5 squared. Oh gosh, I keep forgetting to write the cosine. My bad. This is cosine C, and then yeah, so this is 6 squared minus 3 squared minus 5 squared. So I subtracted these two things off, and then to finish getting cosine C by itself, I will divide by negative 2 times 3 times 5. So this is going to be cosine C equals 6 squared minus 3 squared minus 5 squared over all this other stuff. Okay, cool. And so now if I just compute that, I get that this comes out to 0, 6, 6. I'll just round that to 7. And so now if I take inverse cosine of that, I get that C is equal to 93.822, I'll just round to 6 degrees. Okay, so now I have angle C, and from there I can use the law of sines to figure out the rest. So let me clear some space. All right, so if we're taking significant figures into consideration, so I can just round this up to 94. Okay, so now we can just figure out whatever's next. So let's see. So let me use that C over sine of C will equal B over sine of B. So I can just plug everything in now. So this is 6 over sine of 94 degrees is going to equal 5 over sine of B. So now if I take sine of B, so let's see, I have now 5 times sine of 94 degrees over 6. So if I compute that, I get 0.8313. And so then if I take the inverse sine of that number, I will get 56.23 degrees, and that I will just round, so I'll just write it over here as 56 degrees, okay? Now from here, just to finish off the last one, now I can take 180 minus 94 minus 56, and I get that my last angle is 30 degrees. So this side is 30 degrees, and so then I've got C is 94 degrees, B is 56 degrees, A is 30 degrees. So there's our first one. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. So I'll just draw the triangle real quick. So here is the setup with my angles versus my sides. And now in this case, so I can see that side B is going to be the longest. So in my law of cosines formula, so that's where I want to isolate. So I'm going to use this form of the formula. So I will just jot that down. And now we can go through filling stuff in. So you know, if you're trying to learn this, I would strongly recommend maybe just trying to finish this example on your own just to see if you've got it. But otherwise, I will just keep going. So let's see. This is going to be 421 squared, and then 324 squared, 298 squared, minus 2 times 298 times 324 times cosine of b. And so I've talked a few times about just the math that kind of goes into this. So I'm going to have cosine of b will ultimately equal 421 squared minus 324 squared minus 298 squared. Oops, and I wrote a degree here, not a squared, my bad. And then divide that by 2 times negative 2 times 298 times 324. Cool. Okay, so this will give me that cosine of b equals 0.08565. I'm just going to go out to a few decimals. And so then if I take the inverse cosine of that, I will get that b is equal to 85.0867 degrees, which I will just round to 85 degrees. And so I will note that here. This is 85 degrees, and so let's make some space. Okay, so now let's see. So I'll have my side b over my sine of b. Let's set that equal to c over sine of c, and we can go through the work now to find this. So this is 421 over sine of 85 degrees, and then this will be 298 over sine of c. So my sine of c will equal 298 times sine of 85 degrees divided by 421, and that will equal 0.7051. And so then if I take the inverse sine of that, I get that c comes out to 44.8423 degrees, so that's about 45 degrees. Okay, so for the last part of this video, so of course to find the last angle, so I could just go ahead and do this subtraction, right? So I had a really good question about this. So if I finish off the subtraction, so that's obviously the easiest way to find the last angle. This is 50 degrees. But I just thought for funsies, what if we use the law of sines to find the last angle? So let me clear some space and let's just see what happens. So let's do b over sine of b will equal a over sine of a, and let's just see what happens. So this is 421 over sine of 85 degrees is going to be equal to 324 over sine of a. So I get that sine of a is going to be equal to 324 times sine of 85 degrees over 421. So that equals 0.7666. I'll just round 7. So if I take inverse sine of that, let's see, I get 50.0556 degrees, which I can round to 50 degrees. So yeah, there was a question of what if I just used the law of sines for everything. So yeah, you should get the same number. And so the one thing I will say is that if you don't use the law of cosines correctly, so you don't use the largest side, then actually this won't come out right. So that's why there is that restriction, and that's why that's so important. So it should work out otherwise. I had a great question about that, so I wanted to take a second just to show you guys that. And otherwise, that's the end of this video. If you found that helpful, consider hitting that like or subscribe button, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Bye!